Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about expectations we have towards people and the expectations people have towards us. We're going to dissect a little bit in regards to that conversation today. So hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast, and thank you for watching and tuning in. Hey guys, welcome to Bump. I'm your host, Shamir.
What's going on, everybody? And I'm Nabil.
Howdy, guys.
Hey.
Everybody's doing all right.
I hope so, too.
We're having a great day right now. It's a rainy day outside, but we're having a great day.
Yeah.
We're podcasting. We're doing what we love to do. And,
That's right.
You know, we're glad that we're here with you guys, and you guys are accompanying us on this beautiful day. As we said in the introduction, we're talking about expectations today. What are expectations, Nabil?
Well, I mean, my understanding of it, right, is usually when you are kind of, you have certain hopes, certain things that you label on people.
Right.
So, you know, whether it's your own family members, your friends, you go to church, you have a certain expectation towards pastors. Yeah. Towards Christians in general. You know, you join a basketball team and you have an expectation from your coach to make sure that he coaches you the right way in order for you and the team to be successful. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed in the games that are gonna come into play. So that sort of stuff. Yeah, you know. The question is, have you had expectations towards people?
Oh man, and I'll tell you something, and that's one of the big points that I want to bring to the podcast today, which is you know, if you set a certain expectation on a person, obviously, you know, expectations are not about that person. The expectations that you have are obviously on your own thought process and your own mindset. So, everybody thinks differently. I always say every brain is a different world. So you can't set certain expectations on people because you're prone to them letting you down. You know, that you're setting yourself up for failure in regards to that matter. I think that you know, today we're going to talk about these things, and I also want to bring certain solutions that have worked for me and that have worked for Nabil as well. And you know, I believe that expectations, you have to watch out because, for example, you just said a pastor, for example, you're having certain expectations that hopefully he preaches a good word today, but what if he doesn't? You know,
well, I think it's more than that too, though. I think it's also a matter of, some people will put them on pedestals.
Right.
Some people are, and this is me included. I mean, I've been to different churches throughout my life, and you always have this expectation of, like, you're hoping that they walk out what they're preaching.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, you're expecting them to be like this perfect human being where whether it's conscious or subconscious, like, this is just a natural thing where you're expecting them to literally be like the perfect individual where they don't commit sin, where they don't, you know, cheat on their significant other, or they don't use curse words, or, you know, I mean, the list could go on and on and on. And I think it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not real necessarily, because even pastors, ministers, and all of them, they're imperfect like the rest of us. And I think that a lot of people don't realize they need a lot of help too, and a lot of guidance too in their own personal life. Yes, they are in charge of the church, and they're in charge of essentially what they call God's sheep. We are all God's sheep. Those are those of us that are in the audience listening to the message and stuff like that. And it's important to realize that no one's ever going to meet our expectations 100%. It's not reality.
So would you say that expectations, the word expectations, do you think it's contradictory towards life in general?
Depends if your expectations are realistic.
Yeah, I think that's very important, honestly. I think so because
again, unrealistic expectations means that you have people set up on such a high bar that, again, going back to what we were just talking about, no one's ever going to meet it.
Right.
100%. You know, I've had expectations of my wife being my wife and what that means in a household. And I'd like to think she has expectations as to what a husband is. And I've done my best to go above and beyond since day one on making sure that I do everything that a husband is supposed to do and then some.
Sure.
Because that's just the logical thing to do, the right thing to do. So, yeah, that more or less answering your question, I think.
Right. I think it's very contradictory for the fact that I think that we shouldn't even live most of the time with, I mean, I think it's ingrained in us by nature, but I think that we shouldn't, like, expectations should not be like a huge factor in our lives, because I think we should go more like, okay, if we're talking about spirituality, if you believe in the Holy Spirit and you believe that God is the person that is guiding you, then you shouldn't worry about what's coming your way or what you're giving to the world. In essence, what I mean by that is that, like, you know, let's talk about sports, for example. Basketball coach, you know that the basketball coach has a certain expectation. If you're the point guard or the center,
right,
he's expecting you to exceed in that position in every game that you so you want to live up to that expectation. But then that's one of the main points that I want to bring today is that, you know, if we live trying to satisfy everybody's expectations,
it's unrealistic.
That and we're gonna live unhappy. It's like we were saying earlier, you know, we're gonna live trying to please everybody else. And I want people to understand that we can't live that way. We have to. Well,
it's just unhealthy.
It's unhealthy. It really.
You're gonna lose sleep. You're gonna be stressed out all the time. You're not gonna be happy. Yeah. I mean, what kind of life is that? You're not living.
You know, whether at your job, if you do sports,
especially at your job.
Yeah, at churches and any place you go to, there's always expectations that are. It's like if you go to a job interview, the first thing they're going to ask is, what's the expectations you're expecting from the company or from the boss? And then they're going to also explain, hey, these are the expectations we're wanting for your position, for example. So it's always around, but I believe that we shouldn't give it as much attention as we do nowadays. I think that it also goes to, like, you know, social media and all these things that are occurring nowadays where, you know, if you don't have a certain amount of likes or followers, you're not accepted by society and the people around you. I think that we should look at life in a different perspective and not focus so much on expectations. So that's
or be more forgiving towards people when they don't meet your expectations. Like, realize that none of us are perfect. So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to excuse ourselves from those moments that, you know, we just had a bad day? You know, especially again, going back to sports, if any of the players are having an off day, well, I mean, show them some grace because they're having an off day, either because they're having personal issues or health issues. Right. Things that we don't know as public, you know, it's not going on publicly. So, like, you know, dial it down a bit. And I wrote something down here where, like, you know, how do expectations affect people? So essentially, you know, people may rise or fall depending on our expectations and beliefs. And that's so true. Again, you know, if you believe in the Lord, like we believe in God, there's a different set of expectations versus someone who doesn't, right? And this would be a great conversation to have with people who don't believe in God to see what the expectations would be for them towards, and I know several coworkers that are like this, and I've had some really great conversations at work with atheists and things like that, and it's always just, you know, it's healthy conversaons, honestly, thankfully. So that's always good to see what their expectations are and things like that. And another thing here that I have written down is it unhealthy to have expectations? Personally, I don't think so. Again, it just can't be unrealistic, but I also have here, Unrealistic expectations are potentially damaging because they set us and others up for failure. And that's true, because we're always, again, if they're not realistic standards, then yeah, we're gonna be upset about it. And I know I have with excuse me. I know I certainly have with loved ones, with coworkers, with people in positions of power, within the production world for sure, since, you know, I get to do that on the side and I'm trying to make it a full-time job.
Sure.
People who aren't prepared, you know, in the production side of things, like if you're not prepared to shoot whatever it is we're going to shoot, and yet we showed up early to set everything up and have it all ready. And even when you are there at the time that they told you to be there and they're not ready, it's like, bro.
Right. Those expectations are met.
And you can forgive once or twice, but when it happens multiple times with the same people, now you're just like, bro. Yeah. You know? So now the question is, are you the problem or are they? And in that regard, it's definitely them, because they're just not living up to what they're supposed to live up to. And they should have that. They should be aware of that, but sometimes they're not.
I think that leads to something else I want to speak about, which is when Nabil's mentioning like set expectations that are realistic, you know, set something that you're also very self-aware and self-conscious that if it's a job or if it's something that you need to do and it takes certain requirements, you know, at least fulfill that. Don't think like, okay, this is perfectly fine what I'm doing, you know, missing out on certain things or whatever you just said on production, you know, that people are missing out on certain things or not doing what they're supposed to. And, you know, a job or an establishment could forgive you a couple times, but if you notice that it's keep on happening and you're not
people
doing anything
won't want to work with you,
right? People don't want to work with you. And then, you know, things start to not go in your favor. Why? But you also, that's something I always want to bring on the podcast, which is you have to know where you're standing. You have to know where your mentality is at, what you're thinking about, you know, where you're standing, honestly. You have to build confidence as a person. You know, these are the tools that I'm going to start to bring to you guys today, that how to work on, you know, meeting certain expectations, how to not, you know, live trying to fulfill every single expectation, because this is just impossible. We're not perfect, but we have to be able to create a road in the right direction for our life to be, you know, on a good pace and doing the right thing. We have to build confidence. We have to focus on that. We have to let all the negativity go that has already occurred. For example, at your job, something already occurred, and it, you know, don't be so hard on yourself and let yourself down. On the contrary, just, okay, you recognize that this is a flaw that you're doing wrong. Okay, now let's find a roadmap on how to fix it, and just slowly, you know, enter into that and to the nucleus of whatever that is, and start to build something new, start to create a new way to meet those expectations that are actually, you know, hindering you from your job, from your, whether if it's your daily paycheck or whatever you're doing for a living. But don't think that you have to satisfy every single thing for your life to function at 100%.
Well, and still talking about the job portion, especially if you're at a job where you don't really like it. Oh, you know, it's not what you've dreamt about. It's not, you know, your ultimate goal, whatever. I think it's very important, regardless, to do your very best,
right?
With the tools that you are given, because at the end of the day, you're there to make money, and if you want to make more money, and you're like, oh, they're not paying me enough. Well, they're not paying you enough because they're probably also just seeing you as one of the generic people, so that you don't stand out. And I know I've got a coworker, I got a buddy of mine who he stands out because he really goes above and beyond, and he doesn't want to make what our job is his career, his lifelong career, but he certainly wants to do his best in order to make as much money as he can to then get to where he wants to get to, right? I mean, we had to work long hours just to afford this equipment, this camera, the lights, everything. To be able to even get to this point.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, to be able to get the logo, everything. Well, we need to do the same thing. I want to be in the production world, God willing, as a full-time job forever. I feel like this is my calling. I feel like it's what I'm meant to do, and be able to bless as many people as possible, rather than what my day job is. My day job doesn't fulfill me. It's in that manufacturing world, and that environment is very toxic, very toxic,
and it could be hostile.
And it can be hostile for sure. And so, what do you do when you're in that position where even I've tried to, as you know, apply to many places, and you don't hear back from them at all, or they're not paying you enough. Yeah. They're going to pay you less than what you're currently making. It's just like, what is this? This is crazy.
What I can say in regards to what Nabil's saying is that Nabil's been doing a production for quite some time now, and I think that obviously soon it'll be a lot of open doors to work full time in it and continue to do what he's doing. I think that everybody should find a roadmap, find what's your passion in order to succeed in what you want to do in life, and not have to drag your life meeting those sorry ass expectations, because that's another thing where you're currently working at. There's written expectations because it's a company, but because there's so many suck ups, because there's so many sorry ass people working for that company, those expectations will turn you into a miserable person if you're trying to work your way up into that company. So if this is what's happening in your position, other than Nabil's, find your passion, find something you want to do, and look for
sure.
It. Currently, right now, Nabil knows I do the stock market. I trade.
Yeah.
I had to do it for multiple reasons. Number one is that I can't work for nobody. I have a lot of work experience, just like Nabil does, but it's not. It's to the point that it's good experience that I should work for myself. I should work for my own thing. So when I was incarcerated as well, long story short, I was reading the stock market every day. I read a lot of books on it, and that's just how I learned. And then obviously I started trading because I worked for a year after I got out of prison in that same company he was. That he is. Let me say was, because we're going to leave it in the past soon. You know what I'm saying? Let's say was, because we got to speak things into existence as well. We got to be positive. But my expectations, I'm my own boss. So the expectations I got to meet is what I got to meet on a daily basis. My consistency, my work ethic in the market, all these things. I don't have to worry about the expectations of a company. So my advice to every single one of y'all is that, try to work in that direction, just like Nabil is doing and many other people in the world are currently doing. Try to work for yourself or work for something that you love to do, that it doesn't even feel like it's a job.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal. That's a wonderful dream. And the earlier you get to accomplish that, the better it'll be for you.
Yeah, for you.
The happier you'll be.
Of course. And, those are accomplishments. It's gains, If you continue to be, I know so many people, even in the family, that I guess they've tried to meet other people's expectations, try to make other people happy, that they've detoured from their own personal goals and their own focus to just, what I'm saying, satisfy other people, satisfy those people at their higher ups at their jobs, and they're running at the same pace. I have a family member that she's been working for many years in a company, and she's running in the same place, and then is always asking and doubting the whole world and blaming the whole world for all the things that occur. And it's sad to see, but again, that's another thing when it comes to expectations and stuff like that. The family members have had expectations towards me, and I've let them down as well.
Sure.
And
we all have.
You know what? At the end of the day, it's not that it's my own benefit, but I have a kid, I have a woman, I have my own things going on. To be worrying about another person that can't hold their own. You see what I'm saying? Don't overdo that. Look for what's positive for your life.
Yeah.
And remember, you're individual. Nabil's an individual. I'm an individual. So at the end of the day, what's good or bad for you is what's for you. Don't worry about the next person. If it's good to worry about your parents and your loved ones and stuff like that, but if they've been all their life drag, you see, right now that's another thing I want to bring on the podcast is that I've been trying to create my own success without having to follow certain trends and family beliefs that have taken us nowhere. You know what I'm
Correct,
saying? I want to be able to succeed and be like,
lack
wow,
of discipline.
That's one of the main ones, honestly. Lack of discipline, you know, having I would say poor expectations on their own life, like not owning up to like, man, if I'm in the same place for 5-10 years of my life and nothing's occurred and I want all these things out of life, you know, whether if it's materialistic things or traveling or, you know, even to make it to heaven or something, I don't know, you know.
Well, if we are Christians, that should be like our ultimate goal.
Right?
And yeah,
So,
people fall short. We're right there.
You know, but at the end of the day, if things aren't working in my favor, that means I have to switch up the way I'm thinking, switch up things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, my discipline has to change.
Maybe you need to do more instead of the comfortable amount that you're currently doing. Sometimes we need to be uncomfortable to be able to meet the expectation of our job performance, of our personal life performance, and how our relationships are going and stuff like that. So
get out of the comfort zone. And then that's
always
the thing. Like, you know,
in order to succeed in anything, we need to get out of our comfort zone. That's another topic we can talk about at some point.
Right. And, you know, at the end of the day, I've been doing my own thing, and I know that, you know, once, this podcast picks up to where it needs to be and all that stuff, people are going to be like, hey, you know, congratulations. They're going to be, you know, patting in the back and all these things, but nobody really helped. You know what I'm saying? And I know that occurs with anybody that creates success. Nobody wants to see the struggle or
nobody wants to go through it with you. Once you're successful, it's like, hey, everybody, buddy, my buddy. Yeah.
And it's okay. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, my reply to people is like, okay, well, I raised my expectations. I raised my way of thinking.
Or you brought it down a bit depending the situation. That's
correct. Yeah. Hey, that's what I'm trying to say about expectations. They're good and bad, but they're not the best gauge to look at in life all the time, because it's not always 100% accurate, because there's multiple thought processes when it comes to people and
lifestyles
and the way everybody thinks. You can't, you know, that's why I'm saying that it's a balance. You know, in other podcasts we've already mentioned it. A balance in life is, you know, it's primary and super important to understand these concepts in order to continue to move forward. You know, day by day. I know this podcast and everything that I'm doing outside of this podcast are going to continue to flourish because I'm doing the right thing. Back in the day, I used to do all types of terrible things and illegal things, and it led me to go to prison and have legal issues and this and that. Yeah. So obviously, you have to personally see what's in front of you and focus on what you want out of life and not what is truly going on in the moment alone. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes people are on a treadmill. They want to run up a mountain, but they want to run up with a treadmill. That's not possible. You need to get off the treadmill and start
actually
climbing
run
that mountain. Yeah, climbing that mountain. What I mean by that is that,
or climbing up the steps,
climbing up them bump steps. You know what I'm saying? You got to climb them a step at a time, but you need to take matters into your own hand. And to the believers and the brothers and sisters out there, you have to leave it in God's hands, and anything.
But put in the work. Because fellow Christians just literally think, oh, I'm going to leave it in God's hands. I'm going to surrender it. That doesn't mean he's going to do it for you. Mm-hmm. He's not a magician. He's not a wizard. You know, he's not. Yeah. You know, he ain't Harry Potter. He ain't Gandalf the White. Or the Great. Well, Gandalf the Great, Gandalf the White, depending where you're at in the Lord of the Rings story. But point is, you know, you need to do the work. Right. Okay. It's not just going to come to you. It's not going to be placed on your lap. Here you go. You know, go ahead and do whatever it is you want to do. Like, no. And anything we do in life, you got to put in the work. You're going to have to, you know, put in the sweat, the tears, the blood, spill it all. But you need to literally walk up these steps one step at a time, meaning day by day. And then the expectations that you had will actually shift for your benefit and probably the benefit of others too. Because even though you have certain expectations placed on other people that they didn't meet, you kind of have to ask yourself, all right, did I overdo it with my expectation towards them? Or sometimes you have your expectations really low. So you're like, I knew that person was going to fail me. I knew that person was going to do it because of this, and this.
That is very true.
And so like from the get-go, you already knew that they weren't going to meet the expectations that you have placed for them in your mind.
Right.
So what are you going to do about that? How are you going to handle it?
Mm-hmm.
You should shift your mindset and just be like, okay, well, maybe with this person, I can't rely on them with this. But perhaps I can rely on this other person to do this for me and help me get it done, or vice versa. And set high expectation bars for yourself that are attainable one step at a time.
Yeah, exactly right.
Instead of trying to do a whole bunch of stuff all at once, and then you set up. Yeah. You completely failed. Mm-hmm. You overwhelmed yourself, overstimulated yourself, and so on and so forth. And so, I mean, this is an important topic to talk about. And again, I've probably said this in the other episodes too so far, that it's an important topic to talk about. I think everything that we're trying to touch on within this podcast is important, but you need to realize that this is something that's not commonly spoken about, and it's something that happens in the back of our minds and in our hearts, but we just don't really, we don't even speak it out with our people closest to us.
Right.
So be aware of it and speak it out to your loved ones. And if you're in a predicament where it's not easy to open up to them because they'll lash out at you or they'll immediately judge you and things like that, you kind of want to ask yourself if you want those people around you. And if not, try and get new people that they will meet your expectations in a healthy way rather than an unhealthy way.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know I kind of derailed to what I was saying earlier.
No, yeah. But I mean, it leads me also to this. I think that a way to fix these things on expectations, you have to set yourself apart at some point in your daily walk and talk to your inner voice. Like, talk to yourself. I've said this before already. Journal as well. Write things down. Get your mind clear. Yeah. As he said, don't overstimulate yourself. And if you are already, bring it down. Just calm down. Meditate. Focus. Create these new things. Understand that your opinion is just as valid as the other person's opinion, and vice versa. Nobody's more important than another, no matter the position or whatever the hierarchy is or whatever's going on. It don't matter. Everybody's opinion is the same. We're all human. So understand that just because that person's famous and that person is the president of the United States, that don't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people that are maybe in those high positions think as simple as possible, and you don't even know it, because what you see is what you see on TV. You don't see what these people are actually living. So just be affirmative when you're trying to learn about yourself or trying to get your thoughts right. Be affirmative. Don't be harmful to yourself. Just what do you want out of life? What do you want to gain from people, or from do you want acceptance? Do you want a favor from a person? What do you want? And once you understand what you want out of life and what you want out of people or society, then you start to create your goals. You start to understand that expectations won't worry you, because you already have the mindset. You already understand who you are, where your values are at, your moral. You'll understand all these things. Yeah. And you'll start to focus more on important things than most of the irrelevant expectations that people have towards you, or that you have for yourself. Yeah. Again, at the end of the day, I see it as, set expectations that can be met, and stay focused to that. And after that you already know where you're standing with their expectations. Everything else, just leave it to the side, leave it in God's hands, and a step at a time. Maintain focus, be rational, and coherent at all times when situations come your way, whether good or bad.
Yeah. Now the question is for you: have you had people that have met your expectations, and if so, how did that benefit you?
You know, I've had people that have exceeded expectations.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why is because one time I saw a video of the rapper DMX, and he said that you should just let people be who they are gonna be, and not set any expectations. Just trust them. This was his words. Trust them to be them, not what you want them to be.
Right.
And that's so solid because you're giving the benefit of the doubt to that person. So whether they exceed your expectations or completely let you down, you didn't let yourself down. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
So I say that to say this. The people that have exceeded my expectations, it's not that hard to exceed my expectations because I just let you do you, you know, and hopefully you understand that if you're dealing with a mature person, and if I say I'm a mature person, it means that I'm gonna let you do what you're gonna do, but you know, there's lines that can't be crossed, you know.
Yeah,
that,
of course.
And you know, I also believe a lot in energy. I believe in vibes. I believe in all these things that exist in this world. That when you look at a person or when you approach a person, you could feel if this person gives out a good vibe, a bad vibe, if this person is a serious person or if they're not. You know, first impressions are always very important, but
and not to everybody though. I feel like it's an uncommon thing nowadays.
Nowadays, right? But that's how you know where their mindset lies.
Yeah.
On the first approach, it's not that it really matters in a way what people think, but at the same time, it's like, bro,
does.
like, right. But then at the same time, you know, that's what I'm trying to say. At the same time, it's like, if you literally just don't care about what that person thinks about you in first impression, that means that you just don't care about a lot of things in your life. Why? Because you're just like, well, I mean, screw it. Whatever happens. And I'm just living a day at a time. Like nothing matters tomorrow. And I do say live a step at a time, but it doesn't mean, you know, you only live once. Let's live it up today for tomorrow's not promised. Bro, not even 10 seconds down the road, you know, life is promised. But,
yeah, right.
You know, first impressions and
they matter. They should matter to every single one of you who's watching this or listening to this. It matters because it could benefit you with a future job, some sort of future collaboration of some sort, you know, like making a podcast, or whatever the heck it might be. So impressions are very important. Which then in turn, it'll turn into a expectation setup. Yeah. Because if I liked you the first time, well, now I have these expectations towards you immediately. You know, whether you're conscious about it or not, like you're already expecting something good from this particular individual. So, you know, we could go on and on and on and on and on all day about expectations and things like that. But I think the gist of what we want to get to is how unrealistic are your expectations and how unrealistic they can be as well.
Right. And also how are you handling the way people treat you and the way you see expectations towards what people are trying to what people are expecting from you. How are you handling that situation mentally and internally? You know, ask these questions to yourself, and please in the comment box below, please comment and express what you guys think about this conversation. What other topics that are relevant to this conversation, to this podcast today, can we continue to build more conversations on to give a better understanding of maybe other ways that people can go around and think about expectations, and how we can you know, just better everything that we're speaking about. You know, this is just, you know,
what's your expectations towards us?
Exactly. What are you guys expecting from us? Is it realistic? Is it not? You know, if it's a very terrible comment that you decide to post under here, thank you.
I mean, we're down to read every kind of comment.
Right, yeah.
If it means for us to get better in order to be able to help you guys, and in turn it helps us too.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going to just be immature about it, I'm just going to laugh it off and keep on trucking.
And then that's a point I try to, and I thank you for ending it that way, because that's a point I'm trying to give. Like, the perspective and the emotions you give to what people give to you is super important, and what's in you and what's in your brain and your first thought and those triggers, you have to pay attention to them. That's what will benefit you or hurt you in your daily life. Yeah. Pay attention to it. It's what I'm doing. It's what's working for me. It's what's building up my personality to a whole nother level. There you go. There's times where there are going to be people that are just going to be trolls, and they're just going to go out, and any social media platform, it doesn't even have to be just Bump, they'll go out there and for a living they'll just type or say ignorant stuff or even make YouTube videos trying to destroy another person's podcast or show or whatever they got going on. Again,
and I've seen it firsthand,
so you know what I'm saying. So but at the end of the day, if that's how you feel, in our aspect, we pray for you guys, and at the same time, we wish y'all well.
For sure.
We are not going to be the person. Trust me, I will never, ever on this podcast, guarantee you, will ever reply to a negative comment. I'll just leave you as if you're talking to a brick wall. I'll just pray for you. I'm not going to be back and forth.
No, there's no point, man.
I even told Nabil the other day, we were having a serious conversation. I was like, bro, I am at the point in my life that I could live in a cabin in Tennessee and be completely happy. And it's not secluding myself or anything. What I mean by that is that I don't need arguments. I don't need, unnecessary things. I believe in, I'm currently majoring in economics in school. And one of the most important things I learned this past semester is opportunity costs. What is worth your time and what is worth everything you do on a daily basis. So put that in perspective as well. Yeah. What is, is it worth your time to argue with someone, or is it worth more talking to the person at another moment? Maybe if it was a heated argument, or if it was going to get there, you just avoid it, talk down the road. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I used to be an aggressive person. I used to argue or say a slick word, bam, and just trigger things. It's not the way to go, because at the end of the day, trying to solve things with anger and an evil manner, you ain't gonna get that far. No, I was not a law-abiding citizen at one point in life. Didn't take me nowhere. So aggressiveness, bad things, all these things. I'm talking to you by experience, and as the podcasts go by, I will share more experiences, and so on the bill. Yeah, that these things are realistic, and what we talk here is to have self-betterment in our lives, and as well as y'all's lives. So just have that in mind, guys.
So any final thoughts about expectations?
Yes, I have one little quote here. There's always going to be a quote at the beginning, at the end, and in the middle of the podcast. Yes, because we love quotes. That's what I want to share with you guys too, real quick. We love motivational things that'll help you guys, that'll help us, anybody around us. I think that anytime we have a conversation with anybody out on the street, whether a friend, family, or an unknown person, and the time comes where we have to say something positive and leave a little seed in that person, it has to be a nice quote, or maybe a biblical proverb, or just something good, and that's the type of person I've always tried to be in general. Even when I was an angry person back in the day, I didn't damage people's days. On the contrary, it was just moments. But I always try to be a good person to people. I always try to be, like if I died tomorrow, God bless my soul, that people would remember me more of, man, this guy said this to me one time. Man, he was a real dude. This guy was just, that's the way I try to think. But anyways, just long story short, the quote says, "You jailbreak the matrix by your inner work. The way out is in." Okay?
Think on that.
Let that marinate. I'll write it down on the bottom there for you guys, so you guys could kind of let it marinate in y'all's lives. Yeah. Long story short, it just says, work on your inner self, your inner peace, your mentality, your thoughts, everything.
And things will around you will change.
It'll start to build. Listen, to make a little story short, when I started to take accountability in my life and the things that people were always telling me, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, and they would point my fingers. Now those fingers point in a different direction, and all that same amount of people that had said, hey, you were doing things wrong, are telling me now you're doing things right, congratulations, applauding me. And it's not that it really matters. It depends who it comes from, obviously, but it's beautiful to see that when you cultivate something good in your life, you plant a good seed, what you reap, you sow. So
yeah,
understand that, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast today. Nabil, do you have anything else to say in regards to expectations?
No, I mean, I think that pretty much sums it all up. I mean, that you hit the nail on the head right there. We just hope that this will allow you guys to be able to change maybe not even change, but rather challenge your thought process on expectations. And it might change for the better, and it might stay the same. Who knows? But the hope is that it will allow you to feel challenged, to be able to continue to build up your personality day by day. I mean, again, that's the whole point of this podcast, is to be able to build up my personality in order for you to be a better version of yourself tomorrow. You know what I mean? Or rather today, I should say, in the sense that, tomorrow's not promised. So you got to do your best to be the best version of yourself today. You won't always meet people's expectations, and vice versa. People won't always meet yours. So please be aware of that. Please feel free to talk about that with the people in your life or with us again. Let us know how you see expectations in your personal life by commenting down below. Please make sure to follow us on our social media pages. Make sure to subscribe here on our YouTube channel. Give that video a nice thumbs up. And make sure to comment. We want to hear about it. We want to be able to read about it. We want to be able to share what you guys go through in future episodes and talk about it. And at some point be able to, accept your own emails, accept phone calls through here. We want to be, we have a lot of big ideas and big plans, and we want to be able to expand as much as possible in order to be able to help you guys out as much as we can. Again, we're not professionals. And I think I'm going to say that in every episode because I want to emphasize that we are not professionals.
We are pros at what we do, which is podcasting. These guys.
So yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Don't mess up the algorithm, please. And also hit the little ring-a-dingle-dingle, the little bell
button.
So when we upload, you guys know what time it is. Thank you guys again.
Thank you guys.
Thoughts?
Oh, that's it. That'll do it. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you guys for watching Bump, and y'all take care. It'll be until next time.
Bye-bye now.